Hey my good friend, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we're test driving the 2017 Nissan Pathfinder. Redesigned for this year, it's got a new face, new styling at the back, a lot of new features inside, and most importantly, more horsepower and upgraded handling. So let's check it out. The styling up front here is really the biggest bang that we need to talk about, at least visually. As you can see here, it's all new for 2017. It's got a new grille, what they call their V-Motion grille. It's got a nice square-jawed look, a taller hood here, brand new hood, has more of a truck-like silhouette as you can see. Now the headlights on this one, LED headlights with LED daytime running lights. They really light up quite nicely at night and they have a nice look during the daytime. And the lower fascia down there, as you can see, sort of a skid plate element that has more of an off-roady look. They've definitely wanted to give this a more masculine appeal. Down the side here, the first big change you'll see is a new wheel design. This is a 19-inch wheel because we're in the Platinum trim grade, one of the largest wheels you can get on this. Now, all the trim grades have new alloy wheel designs, but this is the new wheel you're going to find on the Platinum. The mirror here has a nice LED turn signal right here in the side. It's very bright during the day and of course at night. Down the side, a more rugged lower rocker panel trim, big slab of chrome. And when you get back here, as you can see, this part really hasn't changed a lot. It's the same silhouette we've had from last year's model. As we come around to the rear of the Pathfinder, some new elements to talk about are a new taillight design. Also, you've got a new lower fascia down here that has a very similar skid plate design theme like you see up there at the front. This one you'll see also has a trailer hitch receiver down there because this thing now has a pretty credible towing capability for 2017, and we'll get to that here in a few minutes. The other thing this has for 2017 is a power opening liftgate that can open with the motion detection there under the bumper, so you can kick your foot under the bumper if your hands are full and open that rear liftgate. The interior of the 2017 Pathfinder is very similar to before, but they have updated a few things. They've redesigned the center console and the center stack. Both have a new wood finish, at least here in the Platinum trim. It's something a little bit different. It's actually an open pore wood trim, but it is faux wood, but it's actually pretty well done. Faux wood, fake wood. It's always had that glossy sort of, well, cheap, chintzy appearance, and somehow with this particular finish that they put here that looks more like a matte finish open pore wood, it's actually pretty tasteful, I think. And the center stack, very well laid out and very well designed, with the screen up here at the top for all of your infotainment. Sitting here, these seats are very comfortable. The seating position in this vehicle, it's actually anywhere from sitting down in it to sitting up on it because it has a lot of height adjustment here, which I like. So depending on how you like your SUV feel, you can adjust it right where you want it. There's memory for the driver's seat here that controls the mirrors and the power tilt and telescoping steering wheel. I really do like sitting here. It's comfortable, and the black dash up here, at least the top of it, sort of creates this sort of double space here visually. You've got the light lower and the dark upper. I like that. The interior has a lot of amenities. This has dual sunroofs up here instead of the panoramic sunroof, which is fine. At least it lets a lot of light in both front and back. The rear seat back here is a little bit different than some in class, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I think the big thing is it just doesn't quite feel as large as some. You're sitting down pretty low. As you can see, my knees are perched up just a little bit, and the seat's a little bit on the flat side. But you do have some adjustments here. You've got, if you reach down far enough below, you can slide the seat forward and back, and that's a good thing for that third row back there. And of course, you can also adjust the recline, and that's in both this seat and the side seat. There's also a center armrest here. You can fold that down. It's got cup holders in it. And the other important thing for me is the fact that you've got amenities back here. You've got HVAC vents, always important here in Arizona where it's very hot in the summer. There's controls back here for that. There's also power ports back here. You've got a USB. There's an HDMI input because this does have the theater package with two big screens back here. Headphones works very, very well. The third row seat back there is pretty reasonably sized for this class. Adults can sit back there, but it's pretty snug unless you take the second row and move it forward just a little bit. This seat right here, it folds and tumbles forward for easy access, as you can see there in the photo. And as you can see back there, it is a pretty snug place back there. Kids are just fine. Adults will be a little bit snug. The great thing is that all of these seats fold down quite easily. That third row folds down in a 50-50 split. The second row here folding down in a 60-40 split. When they're all folded down, you get a perfectly flat load floor. It is a little bit high and it does have a tilt to it, but flat it is. And under the rear cargo area, you can see there's a nice big storage area that's got a nice plastic tub, so you can put wet things in there like muddy boots, things like that. In this particular one, we've got the Bose audio system, so the subwoofer does take up some space. There is a spare tire too, and it's located down under the back of the vehicle. I'm very pleased with this interior overall. It's got high quality materials, they look good, they feel good, the switchgear is of a very high quality, and it's easy to read and understand. The only thing I wish there was is paddle shifters. Not a big deal because we do have a CVT, but some of the competitors are now starting to bring those in. Either way, the interior gets 5 out of 5 stars. The infotainment system here I really do like quite a bit. It's improved over previous Nissans, and basically you've got a nice touch screen here. It's got a bit of a hood on it so that it really doesn't get affected by sun glare too badly, so it's easy to see both day and night. The thing I like about it is not only can you use virtually everything on the touchscreen, but you've got hard controls down here, volume knob, tuning knob, your presets are down here, and you can still almost do everything with the hard controls if you're not really into the touchscreen, but you can go back and forth, and you've also got audio controls here. So controlling it, very easy to understand and learn. I like that. The audio, this has Bose audio system, sounds very good. Some of the best in class, I think. The one thing it doesn't yet have is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so connectivity isn't quite all the way up where it could be. Overall though, it gets 4 out of 5 stars. What's under the hood here is the 3.5 liter V6 that's nearly 60% new over last year, now called the VQ35DD for direct fuel injection, and that means it now has 284 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. It's still mated to the CVT transmission, but with these changes and the chassis changes we're going to talk about here in a moment, it can now tow up to 6,000 pounds, which is at or near top of class. So how does it go? So that was well more than 60 miles an hour. Now this has got a continuously variable transmission, CVT, but if you could hear, this does have simulated shifts. If you really put your foot in it, that is to the floor, the computer knows you want performance, so it gives you simulated shift points, even though this really doesn't shift like a traditional transmission, but it works very smoothly. I've never been a fan of CVTs, but this one actually works pretty well. And with a V6, it doesn't quite have that leaf blower effect that you get with a 4-cylinder. You can definitely tell it's got more power now. The engine revs with a pretty nice sound, even though direct injection does tend to add roughness to some engines. Pretty pleased with it though overall. Now fuel economy, rated at 19 mpg city, 26 mpg highway, and 21 mpg combined here in the all-wheel drive. In my week with it, I've achieved 20 mpg combined. Not quite as much as promised, but well, I've been driving it pretty hard, and the air conditioner's on at all times because it is summer here in Arizona, so it gets a little bit of leeway there. But overall, transmission, I still wish it were a little bit more traditional. So powertrain comes in at 4 or 5 stars. On the topic of handling, they've done a lot of retuning to the suspension this year. Stiffer springs, new dampers. They've really tuned it up for a number of reasons, not only for better handling, to sort of get rid of that wallowy, sort of cushy ride this used to have, but also to help with that tow capacity, which is now 6,000 pounds. So not only do you need more power for that towing capacity, but you need a more stable suspension. So the payoff is not only can you tow a heavy trailer now and the thing won't feel so soft and squishy, but you can bring it out here to a windy road and actually throw it into a curve, and it's a little bit more responsive. Now, is it a Nissan GTR? No, but it feels a lot more solid and stable than before, at least here on the pavement. Because the Pathfinder has a more robust all-wheel drive system than some of the crossovers in class, I want to test it here on our mogul test. And the reason why is because this has a knob down here that actually lets me adjust from 2-wheel drive to auto, which sets things sort of on the fly what the computer thinks is best, or you can actually go to a full lock, which I've got it set in. And this mogul test here actually puts this sort of on a teeter-tottering position where one of the front wheels is off the ground, one of the rear wheels is either off the ground or has very little traction. Not a very tough test, but there are crossovers in this class that can't do it. So let's give it a try. So I'm just slowly crawling up here to get in position here. All right, All right, so here we are. Woo! One of the front wheels now is just kind of teetering off over there, and my back wheel's in a hole. So I'm going to just lay on some throttle real easy. Okay, so it doesn't want to do it. Now, one thing that's always a good trick is you turn off the traction control, because sometimes the computer sort of overdoes it with the traction control. So now we're going to put on some throttle here. Well, that did it. So there you go. It passes the mogul test, but it does take a little bit of finagling to get it done. Out here at speed on the desert gravel road, I like to bring a vehicle out here, especially a crossover SUV, to see how well it's bolted together, because it can perform really well on the pavement. Nice, quiet, low road noise, but you bring it out here where the road gets a little bit rougher, you get some bumps, you get some rocks, the occasional rut or two, and it's just a good way to see how well bolted together the chassis is. And so what I'm finding out here is that this actually has a pretty supple, sublime ride out here. You're hearing some noise, that's the gravel coming up and hitting on the bottom of the car, and there's a little bit of rattle coming from this headliner up here. But other than that, I'm not getting any shuddering and shaking, which is the telltale sign of something that's not well put together. I'm not getting any rattling in the steering, I don't feel shuddering in the suspension, and I felt that before with other vehicles, so it's always good when I can bring a vehicle that's, well, advertised to us as something you can drive out here in the wild and actually do it, and it doesn't feel like a pile. So I'm pretty impressed here overall. So chassis comes in at 4 out of 5 stars. Whew. Measuring quality, I'm pretty impressed overall. The only one thing that really came up in the test drive was a little bit of rattling from that headliner on the rougher roads. Otherwise, paint finish is very good. Body fit and alignment, way above class in many respects compared to some out there, and I'm not going to name names. Interior materials, very good. So quality comes in at 5 of 5 stars. All right, my friends, wrapping it up for the 2017 Pathfinder, I'm very impressed with what they've done here in the redesign. It's far more handsome up front, it handles better, it's more powerful, and it gets better fuel economy too. And that tow rating, 1,000 pounds higher, that's a huge improvement. Now the price here, $46,000 and some change. That's pretty high, but when you think about it, all the extra stuff that they've put in here for that price, the price really didn't change much for 2017, and this is pretty much topped out. There are some competitors out there you can spend a lot more money on, a lot more. So value here, I put it 5 stars. When you put that in with everything we've already talked about, we're at 4.5 stars for the review. Pretty good. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride.